Hello, everyone. Welcome to Film Notes. I am your host, Otis Moss III. We are delighted that you are a part of this conversation on this evening. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. For those of you who are watching live at this time, you are able to plug in and post your questions. And we have a digital MC out there, two people to be exact, Sister Erica and Reverend Lashandra, who will make sure that your questions are posted for our guests. Our Film Notes series has been going on for a couple of years now, and we've had the opportunity to interview some incredible artists who are utilizing their unique creativity to bring beauty and possibility into this world. And tonight we have two very talented individuals. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with both of them. But before we go to the formal portion of our program, I just want to ask that we might have a word of prayer at this time. Gracious and most merciful God, in whom we live, move, and have our very being. We are grateful for this moment to have this conversation with two tremendous and powerful artists, who will share their heart and their passion this evening. We ask your continued covering, not only in the Chicagoland area, but across this country as we approach November 5th. May we be people of conscience in all that we do. And we seek your wisdom, and we seek to live with compassion and with justice in our interaction with each other. We thank you and we give you all of the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Again, thank you for being with us tonight. And I am excited that we have two incredible guests tonight. We have one who is a Tony, Grammy, and also a Primetime Emmy Award winner and graduate of Carnegie Mellon, USC, that's University of Southern California, has a diverse career in terms of everything from voiceover to film and theater. You probably know this individual, Renée Goldsberry from Hamilton, from Ally McBeal. If you are part of the Marvel Universe and watch She-Hulk, you've seen her there. Whether you've watched online and not online, on stage, and you have seen The Color Purple or Hamilton or any one of these amazing productions. And my children had me watch a movie called Waves several times that she was a part of, and we are delighted that via audio that we have Renée Goldsberry with us tonight. We are excited that she is in the house, and then we also have a director of the film we're going to be talking about tonight. That is Christine Swanson. She is a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, also NYU, the Tisch School of Film and Arts. And she has been with us before because she is the director of the Clark Sisters Project, many television shows that she has directed, but she has created an incredible space with her amazing talent of creating unique films that have a specific audience with protagonists that usually are women, and she does an incredible job. And there is a unique connection with Trinity United Church of Christ that I'm going to ask her about very, very, very soon. But I want to welcome Christine Swanson and Renée Goldsberry to Film Notes. We're so glad that you all are here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for being with us. I want to ask Sister Swanson if you would share the story of the connection between Trinity and your artwork.
Well, yeah. 25 years ago, when I did my first feature film called All About You, we four-walled it in the Museum of Science and Industry. And as we were making our rounds advertising the film, we were invited to Trinity Church, and Pastor Jeremiah Wright had my husband and producer Michael Swanson and me stand up, and he told all his church members, go support these young people in what they're doing. And I have never forgotten his love and support for what we were trying to do. And fast forward 25 years later, we're back at it again.
Wonderful. Well, I want to first say that I had the opportunity to see the film. It's a wonderful film. Tremendous job that you have done. And Sister Renee, you were stellar in the film. You really did a
Thank you.
powerful job. And I want to ask, how did you prepare for your role? And especially as you were connected with the iconic Lynn Whitfield, as you all are driving through the byways of Pennsylvania, but actually Illinois. We appreciate the framing of the film. But how do you prepare for your character?
I had many conversations with Christine about this character and what she represented and what she was trying to grow through, what she had to learn. And I just felt very safe. I felt very I just felt like I was in very good hands, showing up, trusting and believing that my experience in love, my experience in mother-in-laws, if you know a little bit about this story, and really just my really just how well the story is told and how well developed the character is. I felt that I was going to be able to find this character named Celeste that I play in Albany Road.
Now, so Swanson, what was your process? Where did Albany Road begin?
So interestingly, when I directed Renee in All About You, which was my first feature film, she was playing opposite Debbie Allen. And I was just observing the kind of chemistry that they had for the little bit of time that they shared on screen. And I just remembered how remarkable it was to see two women of different ages just interacting and on camera. So I just kind of tabled that in my head, and I thought that would be an interesting movie to do, and it should be a road film, and there should be a snowstorm. So that was the genesis like 25 years ago. And then fast forward many years later, my husband's mom passed away from an illness, and she didn't really tell us how bad it was until the end of it. And it was kind of devastating to be left in grief in that way. And I wondered, like, who doesn't tell their child how bad a shape they're in? And that was before I had children. And once I had children, I'm like, I kind of get it. So I just incorporated the idea of a mother struggling with the idea of sharing news with her son about her mortality. So I wanted to create a movie that discussed issues of mortality, while incorporating a road trip, while being a comedy, while putting Renee and Lynn Whitfield in a car together with them two going at it, and just throwing everything on the wall and just seeing what stuck. And that is what became Albany Road.
Renee, what was that like working with Lynn Whitfield?
Unbelievable. She is such, I mean, well, it can be a bit daunting to work with your heroes. And you never know, you just never know what you're going to get. And I, from the moment I met her, she just had me in stitches. She's very funny. She is, and she knows that. And I think people that are the greats, and people that are, I think, probably used to being received with such reverence as she deserves, know how to disarm people. So I think she's probably very intentional in knowing how very quickly to make sure you realize, we're going to be able to work together. We're going to have wonderful chemistry, and you don't have to, you don't have to walk in eggshells around me. And I was very grateful for that, because we didn't have time. We didn't have time to really do anything but just dive right into this wonderful relationship that Christine created between two women of two different generations who have, we have a journey, like an actual journey through, the country ahead of us, but we also have a journey to go to find an understanding for each other. And it was a beautiful one to do with, I think, one of the greatest actors I've ever met in my life.
Now, I have a technical question. Thank you for that. Did you, one, have a table read for the entire film? Number two is in reference to pacing. What I love, Sister Swanson, is the pacing of the film. We
Yeah.
come into a comedy, but then it doesn't abruptly move into the dramatic. It slowly paces us into a dramatic moment, and I found myself emotional by the end of the movie. It was just so beautifully done by the pacing. One, was that intentional? How did you work through that? What was the process for you to
Sure.
move through those beats of the film?
Well, one, we did not have a table read because we did not have time. And every day Lynn Whitfield was like, we needed to have a table read, girl. But her being the pro that she is, you see the end result. Like if that's the end result with no table read, like, you know, she and Renee, they're just genius. But pacing. So I drew a lot of inspiration from movies. There's a Polish movie called Ida, Ida, and
Mhm.
it's actually a road trip movie about a, um, a Polish nun who discovers that she's actually Jewish on this road trip. So there was a lot of aesthetic style that was borrowed from that. But the main thing that I wanted to showcase was intentionality and beats and breath and thoughts and emotions that are conveyed sometimes without words. So a lot of, if you see the two women like interacting with each other, there's a lot said without words. And I just really wanted to create space for that. So that was intentional, not only in terms of shooting, but in terms of the editing. And then
Mm.
that epic, there's an epic dinner table scene.
I was about to bring
And
that up. I love that scene.
one of my goals was always to do an epic dinner table scene because there's so many people that you have to cover in terms of the camera work that you can get lost in the weight of how to give people space. So all of that, I edited for over a year, and Renee can attest to all the iterations of this film that I went through. But ultimately, it was the emotions that dictated the pacing.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the dinner table scene. Renee, what you did at the dinner table scene, your face, your eyes, the subtle movements was brilliant. It was brilliant. And then the camera was not directly on, it was dropped a little bit lower on you. It was, I mean, just, I just, could you please take us through? I know that everyone hasn't seen the film, but how you got to that point of being able to bubble over with such emotion, but at the same time, there was no overplaying. It was everything was on your face. We felt a shadow hanging on you.
Well, let's just talk about how it feels to sit at a table with the cast of Albany Road. I mean, there is, it's just so well done. Christina, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it not the first scene we all shot together? Am I
All
right about
together,
that?
you're
Really?
correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're so observant. You must have some film school in your background because of noticing where the camera was. So I'll tell you one thing that's very interesting. You're asking about table reads and the process, is the difference in the process from doing theater and doing a film. And you know and often, like Christine said, there's no time for rehearsal, or logistically it being impossible to have a rehearsal, and then the fact that everything is out of order. And so the iconic scene in the movie is something we're going to shoot when we all meet each other, and we haven't done a lot of other things yet. You know, I think I just met Jay Alphonse, who plays the male lead in the film. And we just have to be so aware of what the intention is of the writer, that when we sit at that table, we just know we have that information. And then really after that, it becomes so easy when the cast is that strong. I literally just sat at the table and ate pretty bad food that was cold, but most importantly, got to react to and and just play off of all of those great actors. I'd love to say all of their names at this point. Maybe Christine can help me, but we have Lynn Whitfield, obviously. We have Jay Alphonse. We have Lisa Arundel. Do you want to continue with the names of the four others?
Yes. Yes, there's Gary Dourdan, there's Rachel Nix, and Joe Holt. And J. Alphonse Nicholson, let me just say, I kind of plucked him from a show called P Valley, where he plays a rapper named Little Murder. And on the surface, you wouldn't think, oh, let's cast Little Murder with Angelica Schuyler. So I think Renee was the first to protest, like, are you sure? And I was like, I have a hunch that this is going to work. And I know it looks crazy, but I just feel like there's something there. And to Renee's credit, she just trusted and just went with it. And the rest is history, because their chemistry is just out of this world. And, you know, nobody could have called it but me.
Well, they say, you know, directing. What's the quote, Christine? What percentage of great directing is great casting?
90%. That's what they tell you in film school. 90% of great directing is casting. And there's a lot of truth to that, because I don't care how skilled you are as a director. If your actors can't act, can't nobody tell that you can direct.
Oh, that's
good.
And
what's really interesting as an actor in that scene in particular that you've given me such credit for, I really mostly just listen and react to a lot of things that are out of my character's control. And have been able to do that with that group of actors was not only makes for a great movie, but it made for a great time. We filmed that scene in a million different angles and a million different shots for a couple of days, I think, right?
3 days.
And
3
not
days.
one time were we 3 days, and not one time was it not. It felt like a play, honestly. Just to be full circle, it felt like a play.
Now, what was the full time of the production?
23 days.
23 days.
Yes.
Wow. And the majority of that was in
Champaign, Illinois.
Why don't you share a little bit, because the audience is going to be familiar with that area of Illinois, how you were able to create this production, most of it shot in Champaign.
Well, first of all, let me just say this movie was 100% financed by my husband, Michael Swanson, and producer, and myself, because I shopped this movie around for 10 years in Hollywood, and nobody really wanted to make it. And I finally got one bite, and a producer was like, I'm going to take this to Fox Searchlight, and we're going to hire a male director to do it. And, you know, and I just snatched the script back, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. And so I walked away from that. And then many years later, we just had this window, and I called Renee, and I'm like, what are you doing in February? And she's like, my calendar is free. So it just worked out that we, and we were able to shoot this probably in the coldest month of the year in Champaign, Illinois. And the reason why we went to Champaign was for 2 reasons: tax credits and snow.
Okay.
And so, and then Renee could attest that we froze our butts off making this, but you can feel the chilliness in the film. And that's really something that I actually love shooting in cold weather, because I think it shows up beautifully on camera. And to do that with Black actors, like in snow, was a dream come true. And some of the snow was a little bit augmented, but that the coldness that the actors are feeling was very real, very Illinois cold.
I love it. In terms of your shooting, how did you shoot the actors in terms of your lighting, your camera, your lens? Reason I say this: one, historically, Black folk have not looked great on film when you go back in the day in certain aspects in terms of how we were shot, but everybody looks good on the film, and that seems to be that's intentional, and everybody's hue looks wonderful on the film.
Oh yeah, well, that's a pet peeve of mine, is to make sure that Black people look good, but they look specific to what the story's asking.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes precedence over, are they pretty? Like, if I
Mm-hmm.
hate, in fact, I always say to about actors is like especially great actors, you know, I can make greatness shine, right? I can amplify greatness, but I can't make pretty great, you know? So it's not just enough to look pretty. There's intention, there's design, there's planning, there's discussions about what the lighting is going to look like, because all of that speaks to how we make an audience feel.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to reverse engineer that. How do we
Mm-hmm.
want to make the audience feel? So there's a specific juxtaposition of lighting approaches from the beginning of the film to the middle of the film and to
Yes.
the ending of
Yes.
the film. So
Yes.
we start off very cold with colder hues, and it's bluer. So and the characters are not as warmly lit. And as the characters start to build a relationship closer and towards each other, the lighting and the feeling starts to get warmer, right?
Mm.
And until it catapults to the last car scene between Renee and Lynn Whitfield, it's almost sunny outside. So we didn't start out like that, but the way we end up, it shows you really the journey of not only on the road journey as the weather changes, but really the heart journey that becomes warmer as they
Mm.
really become partners in crime, in a way that speaks to healing and resilience.
Renee, was there a particular scene or line that was near and dear to you? Number one. Number two, was there a particular scene and line that got cut that was near and dear to you?
Oh my goodness. It's like picking a child when you have the great advantage, with, just the gift that she gave me of being, the protagonist, if you will, in the story, the person, that's what we don't get. That's actually, I think, Christine's, one of her missions in life is to make sure that she gives, just a variety of specifically women of color, Black women, the opportunity to have their story be told. And so, you start the movie with me, you end the movie with me. It truly is, this character's um, opportunity to grow up a little bit. So you get to see her in so many different facets. And I just enjoyed every single moment of it. So it's really hard to pick one scene. Perhaps, the most enjoyable would be, if I had to pick one, would be the fact, the moment when we're all at the table together, just because all of us are in a scene together, and it was just so wonderful to do. But to make that better than being on the road with Lynn Whitfield in car scenes when we're fighting or not speaking or finally connecting to each other, and to be able to 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 uh, to just to love each other, through such critical moments in our lives in a car. And I have to say, it didn't look as glamorous as you might think, because of the ways, God had to show up to help us pull off a film. And I just want to add that into our conversation, because that's what I think is so unique and special about this team of filmmakers, Christine Swanson and Michael Swanson. And the name of their company, before they ever made anything, is called Faith Filmworks. And it's because they risk greatly.
Mm.
And she dreams things that she has no idea how she's going to pull off. And it's a wonderful thing, whether I'm in the movie or watching her do it, or I'm watching them pull it off, to see them trust God in such a tremendous way. And it kind of makes it hard to ever want to do anything else. Just because, why do anything that you feel like you could do in your own strength, so yes, I loved being in the film. I loved doing every single scene of it. If I had to pick a line, it would probably be one of the truisms that I think Lynn's character Paula says to Celeste that really saved her life and saved the life of her son, played by Jay Alphonse. It would be any one of those, Christine.
Mhm.
Someone just jumped in the chat. They would like to know. Please share a synopsis for the film. I do not want to do that. If
Go ahead, Christine.
you want to share this a synopsis, and I don't like. I'm one of those real cinephiles. Is like I don't want to give stuff away at
Right,
all.
right. So it's about two women who are at odds with each other, who bump into each other at the airport, and due to a snowstorm, they're forced to share the last rental car left in the airport together for on a road trip from New York to DC. And as the story begins to unravel, we understand that Renee's character used to be engaged to Lynn's son. And the reason why they're not together again is because Lynn's character made sure they broke up. So lo and behold, when the story starts, these two women are faced with each other and forced to go on this journey together. And in going on this journey, again, they start to hash things out until they get to a point of reconciliation. And in the middle of all that, they have to stop off at a bed and breakfast in the woods. And guess who's at that bed and breakfast? Is Lynn's son, played by J. Alphonse Nicholson. And so the surprise of seeing him there just affects everybody, and everything hits the fan in the 24 hours that we're in this cabin together.
Again, the brilliant pacing, the pacing of the film, that you just keep ratcheting up these moments, which are very subtle and such a powerful and so beautiful in the way you do it. I want to shift gears a little bit for both of you, and really ask about the state of Black cinema and Black arts in general. Um, where do you see Black cinema going? Who are the people you admire? And the final caveat to that question is, what would you say are your unique gifts? What do you bring to the table? What is your space uh, in terms of the art that you present?
Yeah, Renee, talk about the state of Black cinema.
I'll start it off. It's interesting as you were asking the question, I was thinking about how we describe things, in general, and then we talk about its effect on the Black community. Like if we're speaking about the economy, we might be like, the economy is in this situation. So then what do you think it is for Black people? It always ends up being, worse than it actually is when you look at the whole picture. We tend to find our community being the most vulnerable to things not being at their optimal place in the world, and that's kind of the situation. Not kind of, it is absolutely the situation with entertainment and film at this time. There's layoffs, the production is down tremendously across the board. I'm constantly surprised. I won't go into much detail, but I'm constantly surprised within the last few months of just how dire it feels. Our industry in general, we're in a bit of an identity crisis, I think. Just trying to figure out, where do movies go? Are they on television? Are they on streamers? Does it still work in the movie theater? And if they do, if they are going to be on a streamer or in the theater, where do they go first? And who's going to buy them? And what is a streamer anyway? Like, what's the future of how we consume media? And oh my God, we could go down a long rabbit hole with that, but know that it's a very dire question that no one has figured out an answer to. And then add to that, we're talking about Black cinema and Black film. And so it's a challenging time, but at the same time, just the fact that we have always Even when things seem good for everybody else, we've always been a little bit left out in the cold. And so we've always never depended on the industry being in an amazing situation to assume that we would get our stories told. We have filmmakers and production companies like Faith Filmworks and Michael Swanson and Christine Swanson, who even in the best of times, nobody was like, here's some money, go do it. And so we've always, you know, our greatest storytellers have always been, had to be a bit renegade and had to find a way to do it themselves. So in a way, we're going to be all right because we've always had to figure out how to be all right. That's my 2 cents on Black cinema in the moment.
Well, all right, Hamilton.
Should I rap about it? If I start rapping, will you think I'm going to? Well, freestyle. I'll say it in freestyle for you.
I always look at it like this, and not always, but this is I have evolved as an artist and as a human being, and I can tell you that there's a time where there's a lot of anxiety attributed to being in this space of entertainment, and then being a Black storyteller, because we're always fighting for better stories about us that reflect our humanity in ways that I don't see is normalized. And every now and then, if you get a good film here and there, it feels like an anomaly, as opposed to this is how it should be, and booty call should be an anomaly, right? But that's not the space that we're in. But given time and some wisdom setting in, the way I look at it is it's kind of like the church. You know, there's the institution, and then there's the body. Sometimes they're not one and the same. You know, that's why Christ consistently talked about the religious elite who thought they were godly, but he pointed out, like, they not like us, you know. Jesus. But so in many ways, I think the entertainment industry works that way too. There is the institution that is a business that is a capitalistic thing set up to create profit, and then there are the artists, and people divinely inspired by God to make a difference in the world. And I think this is one medium in which we can do that. But sometimes you have to work against the grain. Sometimes I work in the grain. I direct a lot of television, so it's using the institution to work out your calling however God sees fit, is how I look at it. And the end result is really not our business. So that's a long way to look at it. You still have to eat and pay your bills, but I don't think we're called Faith Filmworks to be led by an institution, which is why we did our film independently. We 100% financed it. We are self-distributing it through AMC Theaters, and it comes out in theaters November 15th. So God has somehow created a way outside of the institution to now make a movie from script to delivery to distribution. So let's see what the end result will be. But again, that's not our business. That is God's. But we will continue to do what God has called us to do with the gifting that He's given us as He leads.
Speaking of gifting and your call as a filmmaker, your call as an actress, what would you say is your specific gifting? What as an actress, what is your specific gifting?
Oh, there's a lot of there's a lot of ways we kind of look at actors. I think Meryl Streep said it in an Oscar speech. You know, we're empaths. So one of I think the things that we are gifted with is the ability to just, you know, feel and feel or actually just kind of go through an emotional journey for all kinds of different people in all kinds of different scenarios, because we just study that and we're open to it. And maybe maybe there's a bravery associated in putting ourselves out there in that way. I think when I could answer the question in many, many different ways. Another gift I think I particularly have is just my love for people and working with people and telling stories with people. It's just the thing I've loved to do since I was 8 years old. The first time I ever got to do it, I was like, please, Lord, for the rest of my life, in any capacity, can I tell stories? Can I tell stories with people about people? That's just been what I love to do. And I've done, I think, quite well in crafting characters who really fall in love with people. And that starts with honestly with falling in love with another actor and loving to and loving the journey that is having to make something together and know each other or discover each other intimately in that way. I think that's a unique part of my gift as an actor. But in general, it's the greatest gifting going on, I think, is the gift of getting to do this. And I believe I don't believe we are really. I don't believe this is this is the quality of gift for the women that are and for the people that are on the front lines in the hospitals. Do you know what I'm saying? Every once in a while, we get to be a part of something that does change the world in people's minds, that people try to say about Hamilton and things like that. But in general, the greatest gifting is the opportunity to get to tell the stories that people, the great storytellers dream, and to be the vehicle for which people like me, Black women, women in general, can fall in love or examine the loss of love. Just to get to be the vehicle for that is a true gift to me.
Thank you, Sister Swanson. Your gift. What is your gift?
Well, I was going to comment on Renee's gift. One of her other gifts is she has a great ability to tell people what they need to be doing. And
we both got, that's what we have in common, Christine.
Renee's like, what you need to be doing is, that's a lot that's what our conversations sound like. So, the great Roger Ebert once said that cinema is an empathy driving machine. And I just take that to heart as a storyteller. But sometimes I just don't like to call myself a director. I like to call myself a filmmaker because I have a hand in a little bit of everything, but especially as a storyteller, I feel that we have an opportunity to use this medium in a way. And like, listen, I'm a Christ follower, so I'm going to say, like, sometimes we have the ability to allow people to have an encounter with God. Now, not everybody may call it that. Some people, they walk away, say, from Albany Road, like, oh, I was really touched, or that story really moved me. It reminded me of someone I loved. And so I just feel like those types of emotions that are heightened and elevated, that take you outside of yourself, and you are having an experience, I think that is you having an encounter with God, at least in a Christine Swanson film, because that's the only reason why I do what I do, is I myself am looking to have an encounter with God. And that happens every day when I'm working on a movie of my own, sometimes not of my own. The Clark Sisters is a prime example of God working through us as instruments and conduits. We're conduits of his grace and mercy and peace. And ultimately using the gifting in our hands, he uses that to craft something so that people can have an encounter with him. So I'm blessed to be able to do that however God sees fit. Listen, to make a movie is incredibly hard. To make a good movie is akin to warfare. To
Mm,
make a great movie is nothing short of a miracle. And
mm.
I feel I'm blessed to feel in my humble opinion, I've done that a couple times. I've made like 7 movies though, but a couple times I just felt like it was warfare, but at the end of the day, my God, I think I experienced a miracle, and
Mm.
we give God glory for that all the time.
Yes, yes. And I need to tell my team the quote you just heard from Christine Swanson. I need that when put all on social media. That will preach any day of the week. We have a question from the audience. They would like to know, what is it that you hope will be the biggest takeaway from seeing this movie?
Take that, Renee.
Oh my goodness. I was hoping you would take it first. They're so my goodness. Well, I'm trying to not spoiler alert it. So I'm going to try to speak in more broad terms. But there's just a lot of thematic material in there that I think is just really critical and really life-saving. And one of them is finding yourself worthy of love,
Mm,
and how sometimes we think there are other people or circumstance that was the barrier for our what our true destiny is, our god-given destiny in terms of love and partnership in our life. And perhaps maybe those things that seemed like barriers were really just um you know we're really just kind of masking this fact, or this fact that we on some level don't know that we are worthy of it. And that's one of the messages of the film that I love, one of the messages of the film that I love. And my hope is that in the great enjoyment of it, everyone leaves feeling worthy of a happy ending. I mean, we have romantic comedies, and we watch them because we know that that's feels promised at the end. And I want people to feel that in their own lives and not just at the movies.
And I would add that um, I would hope that people take away the notion of feeling seen, um, cinematically.
mm,
And why that is important is because that is how I became a filmmaker. Is when I saw Charles Burnett's movie To Sleep with Anger in a theater, and for the first time on a big screen, I felt like seeing, and I saw my relatives on screen, and I'm like, "How they do that?" Because I was just used to Good Times, and I'm like, "Wow, I know these people. They feel intimate to me."
mm,
And I just the power of that being seen in that way always stuck with me. And again, when you're dealing with an empathy driving machine, there is a moment in the process of what we do as storytellers, that we can connect with audiences. And I feel that in Albany Road, those moments are many.
mm. Now, I'm glad you mentioned Charles Burnett, because when I watched Albany Road, I was reminded of Charles Burnett in terms of how you shot the film. I thought
Mhm.
of To Sleep with Anger. I thought a little bit of The Glass Shield, but mostly To Sleep with
Yeah,
Anger. Uh,
yeah.
in terms of, was he an influence for you?
Well, to become a filmmaker for sure. And I went to NYU Film School, and Spike Lee was my directing teacher, and Spike Lee is the reason why I went to film school and became a filmmaker. Charles Burnett opened my eyes, and Spike actually gave me the chutzpah to even dare try to do this. So I'm a student of a lot of filmmakers, and they have all kind of deposited things inside of me. But one of the things that I love to do as a storyteller and as a director is use cinematic tools to tell a story. I'm just it's like there are many angles and elements in which storytelling evolves. So it's not just putting a camera up and having Black people talk.
Mhm.
That's I'm not interested in doing that. It's how do we use the specificity of these cinematic tools to highlight emotion,
Mhm.
to undergird thematic elements. So I just love the challenge of that as a storyteller, which is why I study, 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 study. No matter what, whatever show I direct on television, I study, 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 study. So I ingest it. And then when you're on set, now we can freestyle because we've done the work. And then you're
Mm.
working with a great actress like Renee Goldsberry, who is always thinking, thinking, thinking. What if we did this? What about this? And now it's like now we get to play in the sandbox. So that's just the height of creativity on these sets sometimes when you're working with brilliance, like all my actors and crew and crew. My crew was awesome and brilliant as well.
Now we have I want to just give you a shout out. Sheb K said, "Thank you so much for answering the question. They feel seen." And so they wanted to say thank you for that. I think they just put it up. But you have another question, I believe that Lashandra Stevens has. Does the location
Mhm.
for which the film is named have any personal significance, i.e., Albany Road?
So I'm pretty sure I was traveling somewhere in upstate New York and I saw the word Albany. And one of the things that I wanted to do, and it's so arbitrary, but I wanted to have a nondescript name for a movie that kind of felt like a white movie.
Mm,
Um, that like it didn't matter, and that is why I picked the name Albany Road. It's kind of nondescript, but you would never think like this a black movie, you know? And like I only do that because here's the irony of Albany Road. It's I could have made this with an all Chinese cast
mm,
and nothing in the story would have changed.
mm,
Nothing. I could have made this with an all white cast and nothing in terms of the emotional depth of storytelling would have changed. So therein lies the point. Our blackness is as it's important to me because I love telling black stories, but our humanity takes
mhm,
center stage. And
mhm,
that's what I wanted to highlight. And that is what Albany Road actually means. It means something, but it means everything. Like it doesn't matter. Like remember I said booty call? You know that's a black movie, right? Uh
mm,
unfortunately. But here we have a human story that highlights our emotions, our hopes, our dreams, our mortality, and our wishes in a way that we should aspire to in the same way others get to do it all the time, 24/7.
mm. Now, there's a kind of a meta narrative that seems to happen, not only in the film, but in terms of the production. That there's this subtext that has a faith subtext, but
Mhm,
in the production of the film, there is the sacred serendipity of the spirit
mhm,
just bringing things together that could not have been brought together. I was wondering if
mhm,
you could just share with the audience some of the ways in which the spirit navigated
mhm.
this production for you.
Wow. What do you think, Renee? I want to hear your thoughts on that.
How the spirit navigated the production?
Yes.
Well, I mean, in the most basic way, like she was talking about the difficulty of making a movie, and especially this movie, when we are one of the characters in the movie is the weather and snow. It's just wonderful, I think, to be in situations where you are aware of your inability to make something happen. Do you know what I mean? You are aware of your need for something divine to bring to give life, basically. I think that's what we do as artists. I mean, I definitely feel myself that I'm that kind of artist that feels like I'm going to show up prepared, and I'm going to have faith that lightning is going to strike. And by that, I mean that God will bless the endeavor. And on this production in general, we that's what we show up and count on every day. And like Christine mentioned, we worked together 25 years ago on our very first film together, and now we got to do this one 25 years later. And it's interesting to think about how we've changed in terms of our relationship to or I should say our very great dependence on God to pull it off. The first feature film I ever starred in, my first starring role in general in any kind of film or television, was in a movie called All About You that Christine wrote and directed. It was also her first feature film. And I had no idea what I was doing and if I was going to be successful at it. And I kind of thought she was a bit crazy to risk so greatly with me. But I showed up and God showed out, and now look, 25 years later, there's a different risk associated with people having an expectation of my ability to pull off certain things. Sometimes that can be more daunting than no one having any expectation, than people having a great expectation of what you're going to bring to something. And I am the same human being that's like, all right, Lord, what you gonna do today? So I think that's what I love about being an artist, whether I'm standing on a stage about to sing something, whether I'm on a set, trying to meet a moment that was written down on paper that demands that I'm feeling something. And this is what I kind of learned about myself, which I thought really was interesting in the doing of this particular, in the filming of Albany Road in February of 2023. Was it, Christine? Is that when we did it? We filmed it February 2023. I was much less anxious walking into really big moments that big heightened moments. Things were expected of me, and I was much less anxious about my ability to pull them off. Not because I'm so great. I just have had enough times in my life where something had to happen, and God has never let me down.
Amen.
Never, ever, ever let me down. That I just had a different, I think, piece associated with it. I walked in a different power, and it was wonderful to feel that and to be able to compare and contrast what this looked like 25 years ago and what it looks like today. And I will also add, since you are letting me talk, our relationship, going into war with someone. Christine and I met at an audition in, I don't know what the year was. What was it, Christine?
Was it 2000 or 1990?
No, it wasn't 2000, because we met in the 19s.
Right, 1999.
It was the 19s. The century had not changed when I walked into an audition. We filmed the first movie we did together right before. Obviously, I said 25 years ago. So it was before we had, we became, the century changed, and and we were peers, I guess. What were we? But what we became very quickly, because I coined a term, Christianese, because we speak Christianese, and we need each other. We needed to, not only in the making of the film, but just in the way that we were looking at our lives as artists. We had to figure out, how does this look differently on us? I mean, we used to sit up late at night, even after we, the film, we had finished filming All About You. We would sit up late at night and talk about what does success look like for people that say they are, they're doing this, they're on a mission from God. Like, what is it? It has to look different than it looks in the world. And what does that mean? We might say that, but what does it truly mean? We had no idea what we were getting into, did we, Christine? But we figured those things out together. Like, it might be harder than we think, Some things might be easier, but some things might look very different than what success is supposed to look like in the world. And so, and how do we get along with each other in this process? And so that was another thing in the filming of Albany Road that I had the benefit of experiencing my sister on the front lines of making a movie after having lived 25 years of life and still being dependent on the Lord. Like it was really, it's a spiritual process, and it's joyful, and it's a gift.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We started out as like, we were just soldiers for God, and we were just so young, and I think I was more naive than Renee, but we just wanted to do great things for God, and we just bonded because of those intentions. And I would say 25 years later that we are even more committed to the things of God, but God has just taken us in different directions and kind of gave us opportunities to grow as humans and as artists. And then he was like, okay, go do it again. And just coming into it with our wealth of experience and life lessons just hit differently as we did this film. I don't think anything really bothered us that much in the greater scheme of things, and we held each other accountable to get to the finish line. So that was just great, being in the trenches with my sister in Christ, who also happens to be the godmother of my 4 children.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It has been a delight to speak with you all. Now, I want to share one other thing because I love the movie. This is not hyperbole. The film comes out on the 15th. This is Albany Road for everyone who's listening. We want you to support the film, but we want to do something at Trinity to support the film. We're going to rent out a theater. We're going to have the churches coming to watch the film. We will put it on X, IG, everything. We want to let everyone know about the film. So for those who are listening, we are going to have an Albany Road night, and we're looking forward to that. We will let you all know because we want to share about the film. But I want to thank both of you for taking time out of your schedules to have this conversation here on Film Notes. We wish you all the success, and we will continue to pray for you. And please share with us if there are new projects. If there's a new project that you're working on, if you want to share that now, you're more than welcome to do that. Is there something that you all are
Renee,
looking
what
at?
you doing? Renee's always working.
Renee, what you doing? What am I doing? I am doing a show on Broadway in December 11th through the 29th. It's the reading of love letters written by the writer Simon Rich, who is a really prolific writer and a very funny comedic writer. He writes one of the main writers for Saturday Night Live, and I will be starring, reading love letters in this really wonderful, very, very funny Broadway show with John Mulaney and Richard Kind and Fred Armisen from December 11th through December 29th. And other than that, I am preparing to release an album of original music in 2025
All right.
that I'm very excited about.
Outstanding.
And I'm always developing movies, and then I get booked to direct a lot of television. So only God knows which shows I'll do at the top of the year. But I'm really looking forward to doing more films through Faith Filmworks, and with my husband Michael Swanson, who is one of the most extraordinary producers in the industry.
Oh, that's beautiful. I want to ask, will you come back for your next project? Can we book you when you do your next project just for an interview so that we can talk about what will be coming on the horizon?
Oh, for sure. And there's a movie I could be shooting in Chicago, so let's
Okay.
talk about that
All right. That sounds good.
later. All right.
Everyone is saying thank you. I'm looking at the chat over here that I have. They have enjoyed this. They are praying with and for you. And one person said you have just changed the way that they are viewing and thinking about not only this film, but film in general. And so we thank you for taking time out to be a part of Film Notes.
Great. Thank you. And everybody go check out at Albany Road Movie. That's our social media handle. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, both of you. At Albany Road, please
Movie.
check out the Albany Road. We're going to be looking at November 15th. We're going to be going to see Albany Road. You'll be hearing more information about that. And we thank our guest, Renée Goldsberry and Christian Swanson and Faith Filmworks for the projects they've produced, and the projects that will come forth in the future.
Thank you so much.
This has been our Film Notes for this month of November, and we thank you for joining us this evening. You can check out our past Film Notes. They are all uploaded online. I want to thank our team here for our Film Notes production, the Uber producer extraordinaire, Pastor Sue, who is somewhere in cyberspace all around the world, our social media strategist, director, and Maven, Sister Erica, who's always floating in between different IG, TikTok, and Facebook, along with our media director, none other than the Reverend LaShondra, the incredible team that we have floating around behind the scenes for our Filmworks. Please check out your social media feed. Join us on IG, Facebook, TikTok, and also YouTube. If you want to be a part of the digital tribe of Trinity to learn more about the projects that we will be doing in the future. We have some more films that will be coming up and more authors we will be interviewing in the future. But again, check out Albany Road. You will be blessed by this film and have a chance to see an iconic performance by the iconic Lynn Whitfield, and of course, Renée Goldsberry. I believe you will enjoy this wonderful piece of art that tugs at the heart, uplifts the spirit, and causes us to reflect. I'm Otis Moss III. I'm your host here at Film Notes. I will see you next time. God bless.